This is a follow-up to last week's video about 5 ways to carry fixed blades with paracord. And I realized that for whatever silly reason, I talked about scout carry, but I didn't actually show it.
Nice job, team.
So we won't need much. Your knife of choice, in this case it's the Civivi Tamashi, which I will talk about in a little bit, a cord lock, a couple of feet of paracord, and a sturdy leather belt that you'll be wearing your knife on. And don't forget guys, if you need paracord or any other supplies for making the cool stuff that we do, you can get it all at paracordweavers.com, link in the description. This time, similar but slightly different from the vertical belt carry method I showed, I'm going to pass the cord through the sheath. And just be aware of the orientation of the blade as I'm setting myself up for right-handed carry. And on the other side, I'm going to cross the strands over this time as I think it could help with stability. With regards to the last video, some of you came in really clutch in the comment section and shared some really great information. So for all of you that did, shout out to the real ones who chimed in with some solid advice and tips about fixed blade carry. Thank you. So as for the stopper knot, this time I'm mixing it up and I'm going to tie a 2-strand foot rope knot. It's super easy and it looks quite nice. It's much more simple than the diamond knot, and just the way the knot is shaped, it kind of has a nice shelf, if you will, to keep itself tucked under the standing end loop. So the reasons why you might want to consider scout carry is if you're carrying a large fixed blade. But that being said, you can of course carry a small one as well. However, with a large blade, it's a very good belt carry option if you want to keep your knife on the belt line, but it's too large to be carried in front or vertically on the hip. It also does keep the knife out of the way so that it doesn't get snagged on things when you're doing whatever it is you're doing. So with the paracord laced up, we're going to get this on the belt. And again, I'm going for a right-handed draw. So look closely here. And I'm going to put my belt on, and after I go through the belt loop on the back, I'm then going to pass my belt through the crossed over paracord strands. Then I'm going to put the rest of my belt on. So what this is going to do is that the middle belt loop is going to stop the knife sheath from traveling to my left when I go to resheath the knife. The paracord does keep the knife on securely, but it's not completely static and it can still slide a bit. Now when I go to draw the knife, I'm using my thumb to separate the blade from the sheath to release it, so I don't have to worry about the knife moving to my right. That being said, if I were to go for a reverse grip draw, this setup would struggle a bit as I'm relying on the rigidity of the sheath to stay in place as I draw the blade, as my hand is no longer in the position to push the sheath off with my thumb. Not a big deal in my opinion, as for the most part, there aren't a whole lot of reasons to reverse draw a knife unless you're in some sort of knife fight, so it is debatable. I think if I lash this to my belt with the parallel paracord loops on either side of the middle back belt loop, that would probably help with it. And the last thing I wanted to address with resheathing the knife is that doing this can be a bit tricky, and it does take a bit of practice as you can't actually see the sheath behind your back. So there is a real risk of filleting the small of your back if you aren't careful. The method that I found that works for me is using my thumb as a bit of a pointer to guide the knife back into the sheath. It helps, but it still takes a bit of practice. Now while I've got this knife out, by the way, to give you a mini review, this Civivi Tamashi is really one sweet blade. It is designed by Bob Terzula, who is the godfather of the tactical knife, so it has a beautiful and functional blade shape. The micarta handle is super ergonomic, it looks great, and I don't think you'll get any fatigue working with this knife. But I will say the handle is almost a little too smooth, so it might get a little slick, or could be an issue should your hands get wet. Again, I'm not an expert with regards to bushcrafting or using knives outdoors and stuff like that, but for opening my Amazon boxes and breaking down cardboard, it's been great. So all in all, this was my take, and I think it shows a viable solution if you want to scout carry, and perhaps if you lost the belt hardware for your sheath, kind of like how I did, or if it was broken, then perhaps you can try this. Hope you enjoyed.